Crbnly Conversation.
Quick question. Is this the podcast? Are we doing the podcast right now?
But shout out to Asar on the lovely intro music. We very much appreciate it.
Yep.
But welcome everybody to another episode of Crbnly Conversations. This is a podcast where three friends, you can see us here, we examine the intersection of community, lifestyles, and consumption in our lives. My name is Shane. I'm here with Steven.
Hey.
Say hello. And Chad.
Howdy, y'all.
And our goal is to share stories to motivate actions that lessen our carbon footprints. And we really hope to create a space for our listeners and community members to also share their Crbnly journeys with us as we all are on this trek together. In today's episode, we will be discussing recycling. So let's see.
That's a big topic. So big.
People love recycling.
I like that.
People love to love recycling.
They do.
They
do.
We may find out.
Yeah. We'll get into that. The Crbnly team will break that down. But before we begin with that, we do want to thank our listeners. We've been receiving some valuable feedback from our listeners. So
100%.
Please understand we're all new to the podcast game. We've recorded less than 10 episodes. So any feedback is very much appreciated because we do want to make sure.
Even though in those 10 episodes, we have become the number one podcast in the world.
I don't know how
it's amazing, really.
Yeah.
It's a feat.
So, but just make sure to follow us on any platform that you use. We're on Instagram, we're at Crbnly, which is spelled Crbnly. You can also catch us on YouTube, where if you're tired of just hearing our lovely voices, you can see our pretty faces as well. So our YouTube channel is Crbnly Conversations. And if you do that, just make sure, if you want to, subscribe, like, comment. You can leave us feedback, on the YouTube channel as well. And then if you are wanting to see what all platforms you have access to listen to us on, we have a Buzzsprout page, which is crbnlyconversations.buzzsprout.com. So follow, subscribe, like I said, support us if you like us. It's much appreciated. And we plan on building this out even more. But that's enough for now. We'll let Chad kick us off this morning.
Yeah, like we could just say smash that subscribe button. I feel like that was the 2000s equivalent to what Shane just shared. But super exciting stuff. Like recycling, again, is such a huge topic. It may even be some of our Crbnly moments, weekly, daily. But before we get into that, fellas, I know this is a reoccurring topic, and I haven't done my homework yet, so I'll come up with my Crbnly moment. But what have you two been doing in the last week to be Crbnly?
Do you want to go first, Shane?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll leave it up.
So I, through a series of very unfortunate circumstances, I am now, staying with a friend. I'm not, really at home much. But I still work here. Like my computer, it's a hassle to, I can do my job from anywhere, but like my setup at home is ideal for me to do my job, for me to be productive. So I come back here from like 9 to 5, and then I just like go back to the friend's house that I'm staying with. And it's really like, I don't know, maybe like a 10-minute train ride, if that, between her house and mine. But this entire week, I just decided to walk. I decided to do the 40-minute walk from East Williamsburg to Bushwick, and it's been really nice. And it's made me more productive. It's made me more like alert like by, like an hour into my day, I feel like I'm like 4 hours into my day. Like I'm just, I don't know. The walk is very refreshing. And I think, if, I'm just one person, but I think if a lot of people did it, it would add up to something, something great. Like, might be able to affect some carbon emissions out there.
Definitely.
It's probably a really great break in the day, right? A mental moment. That probably doesn't sound right. But I don't know, whenever you're focused on one thing and you need to move into the next part of your day, like a walk. I mean, if we had one sponsor for the rest of our podcast careers, Crbnly Conversations, brought to you by walking. Like, I think that would be a really, really good thing. I love that.
Maybe in some Allbirds.
Maybe it's an Allbirds.
But definitely lowering your carbon footprint one Brooklyn walk at a time, Stephen.
There you go. I'm out here.
Good job.
Are you able to bring Bruno with you on those walks? Is he going from Bushwick to East Williamsburg?
No, because she has a dog, so I think he's much happier playing with the dog than like schlepping back and forth here.
Got it. He's like, no, I got a friend, Steven.
Yeah,
you stay. I'll stay.
Yeah, I'm
shunned.
That's cool. Yeah, as long as I just keep.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, as long as I keep bringing home the kibble, he doesn't care.
Yeah, that's all he cares. That's all he cares. But
pretty good.
My Crbnly action this week has been, I'm also trying to change, like reroute what products and companies I support. So one thing that we all have to do on typically a weekly basis is wash our clothes. So other than me, so there's kind of two things tied to it. I've started only washing on cold. Like I grew up where it was ingrained in me that, white clothes had to be washed on hot or else they didn't get clean, So I've kind of switched, and now I wash everything with cold water, which helps, reduce some of the energy that I use. And then product wise, I've switched over. I'll share more later, but what I've done is I've switched over to a more concentrated washing detergent. So the plastic bottle is a lot smaller than what I used to buy those big jug ones that have like the spout, that I forget how many gallons it is, but so it's just helping kind of ties into today's topic with recycling. It's kind of helping my plastic usage and cutting down on that. And so far it's been washing my clothes just as good. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how big the bottle is. Exactly. Still fresh and clean, like Outcast. So, yeah, that's kind of my thing of the week.
I love that. It doesn't matter how big the bottle is. It still gets my clothes clean. That should be a slogan.
Yeah. Size doesn't matter sometimes.
Hey.
This is a clean podcast, Shane.
Yeah.
Let's walk that line carefully.
Oh my God.
Love it. I love it.
Is this a clean podcast? I'm in trouble.
We labeled it as clean, so we have to be on our best behavior. Because lo and behold, I know some of our moms are listening.
Oh God.
Yeah. Damn it.
Dan.
How about you, Chad? What have you done?
Well, it came to me while listening to Steven's share on his walk and yours on like making decisions on what you buy and how you do your chores. I think as a kid, for me, like we've been busy and we've been building a new team, so I've been out and about. But in the last week, I cooked all the meals for dinner for like bookend between hanging out for friends or going out to restaurants on the weekend. But during the week, I was able to clear the fridge so there was no wasted food, and use all the leftovers. B, make sure all the veggies and stuff that we've been buying from the farmers market over the last few weeks found a place in our bellies. And C, making some deliciousness. Like I'm a big fan of bringing some kind of pot of bean dish and some kind of potato dish together in a tortilla with some hot sauce. It's like one of my favorite things to do. It's a stalwart of my cooking. So this week or last week's rendition was cowboy beans with little beef brisket left over from whenever, but real made thick with cornstarch. So you got like that gooey, like thick barbecue cowboy beans, and then had a bunch of red potatoes and some fennel and some small sweet peppers that I roasted in this giant mishmash of dill and salt and oregano. And I don't think it goes together, but it was just like silly enough to work with that richness and that sharp dillness. And like when I can, I get tortillas made in a factory in Texas, but when I can't, I'm a big fan of the half corn, half flour tortillas you can buy at Trader Joe's. You get like 8 to a pack. They seem to be about the right, like 6 to 8 inch size. They're a little bit extra thick, so you only need one per taco. Anyways, I'll stop.
Because the corn ones sometimes get like too soggy for me. I do like them, but you have to eat them right away once you put
the wheat ones aren't as healthy as you think they are. They're filled with a lot of extra stuff to make them, which makes them extra tasty. But I think that's the right balance. So that's my Crbnly moment of the last week is just cooking. So brought to you by walking, doing your laundry, and cooking.
Just I mean, we're just a bunch of wholesome men.
Not just wholesome, but it's what everyone does.
Life essentials. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think everyone cooks. I don't think everyone walks, and I don't think everyone washes their clothes.
And if you don't do all three,
learn from this podcast.
In trouble. Yeah, there you go.
I have a joke for you guys. What did the leg say after jumping off the 4-story building?
I have no clue.
Forget about it.
You give up?
Yeah.
It's time for a break.
There we go. I like that one.
And before we get into that break, I do want to recognize that not everyone can walk the way that we're talking about it. There are people in wheelchairs and other devices to be mobile. So for any Crbnly listener that uses their mode of transportation themselves that way, lots of respect. And we know this world isn't always made easy. So we're not making light of that, but we are taking advantage of our privilege of being able to walk everywhere. Our health.
A lot of people that are privileged to walk don't walk.
Yes.
And that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I know, but again, we have listeners.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure they know intentions are good, but actions are even better.
You know, it's a lot of responsibility hosting the #1 podcast in the world. You know,
it's hard. It's tough. It's tough.
I lose a little sleep over it, but knowing that we're #1 makes it more comfortable when I'm in bed.
Yeah. You know, we worked hard to get here.
But break time.
Yeah, I'll take care of the break this week. You know, our goal with these breaks are to promote either local businesses or products that we feel are on the same mission that we are. So this week, I present to you Seventh Son.
Is it Seventh Son or Seventh Generation?
Or I'm sorry, Seventh Generation.
Yeah. I love that company.
Detergent. So kind of going into my weekly switch or what have I been doing this week to be more Crbnly? Like I mentioned, I switched over to this more concentrated laundry detergent. So there's a few things. The bottle itself is made out of 100% recycled plastic. So that, that ties into our topic this week. Also, it's 98% plant-based. So that also helps with the creation of it being better for the environment. And so this particular bottle with this bottle that I showed you all is 23.1 fluid ounces. It can take care of 66 loads. And this is what I used to use.
Damn.
This guy here.
I mean, right? That's a workout machine, isn't it?
It's half full and it's still pretty heavy. It doesn't say anywhere and this is no disrespect to Arm & Hammer. They're actually made by the same company, both products.
Okay.
So no disrespect to Arm & Hammer with OxyClean. I grew up using this my whole life. But this is what Crbnly Conversations is about, is helping us break these habits and have a more sustainable life. So granted, this bottle can handle up to 106 loads. But I mean, if you just do a side-by-side comparison, even if I had two of these bottles, it's nowhere near the size of this plastic. And this plastic's a lot thicker. And like I said, this is made out of 100% recycled plastic.
Is the OxyClean container, is that recyclable?
Yeah. What letter do they or number do they have?
Yeah, let's see.
Is it a 2?
It has a number 2, so I believe that's still recyclable, but maybe not all of it is.
No, I think 2 is a good number.
2 is good. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
But like I was saying, it's not made out of recycled plastic, so this. There's just different advantages. And then another cool feature is, like, in order to help you properly use the right amounts, this bottle, all you do, it has a controlled, what I like to call a controlled squirt mechanism. So literally
hey, there are moms on this podcast. All right.
I know. I'm not doing it on purpose, but you literally squirt it one time into your washer, and that's enough for one load, instead of like having to measure it out yourself, maybe using too much, and I was definitely I'm guilty of, using probably a little bit too much detergent, thinking that, it's better because it's going to help wash my clothes better.
Sure.
Same with using the hot water. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring some light, and, I'm sure some of our listeners already use this product, but, it'll give the idea to the ones that don't, so that's another step that you can take in lowering your carbon footprint, is just kind of making some changes in the daily products that we all use.
And my guess is 7th Generation isn't the only brand that has some version of, like, my guess Method, and I'm lacking other names off the top of my head, have a similar strategy. Can you look on the 7th Generation? What recycling number does it have?
It's number 1.
Number 1.
Yep.
Well, just like us, our number 1 podcast.
Yeah, they're the number 1 plastic. And we'll have a link in the if you visit Buzzsprout, we'll have a link of some of the materials that we used. Yeah, the materials that we used to kind of put this episode together. So there'll also be a link that'll explain the different numbers on the plastic products, on the different recycling symbols, and kind of break that down of what they mean as well.
Maybe even a future episode.
Can you give me like a quick like Cliff Notes explanation about the numbers? Because I feel like you and Chad shared some language about this, and I was like, oh man.
Actually,
I've always noticed the numbers, but I don't know what they all mean.
Yep, I have it right here. So when you see the recycling code with the number 1, it stands for plastic, which is plastic resin codes. So it identifies the type of plastic resin that was used to make the item. So number one is used for drink bottles and some food packaging. It's widely recycled, so you have less worry if you're throwing a number one recycle into the recycle bin. You can almost guarantee that it is going to be recycled, the full bottle, as long as no contamination and things like that. But we'll get on that later. Number two is used for cleaning product bottles. So it's kind of weird. They're both cleaning products, but the 7th generation was able to be labeled as a 1. I'm assuming maybe because of it already being recycled plastic. It doesn't have any dyes in it. It's a clear bottle compared to a yellow bottle. So I'm assuming that goes into it. If you see a number 3, that stands for PVC. It's used for car parts, window fittings, etc. It's not easily recyclable. Number 4 is used for plastic bags and wrapping. So that's another reason to why to take like reusable shopping bags whenever you go grocery shopping, because those bags just aren't really recyclable at all. Like your local grocery store might have a recycle bin for them, but I think those are just so that they can go back to the warehouse and maybe be reused, which is great. But the more that we can, use our reusable canvas bags, or, Trader Joe's sells some really stylish shopping bags. Yeah. So the more we can use that, the better we can lower our carbon footprint. Number 5 stands for PP. It says that it's used for some tubs and trays. It's widely recycled, so that's great. Number 6 is used for takeaway boxes, disposable cutlery, which we all know are not easily recyclable. So whenever you go out to eat, if you're taking it back home, maybe tell them to not give you the plastic fork and spoon, and just use what you have at home. And number 7, the last one, is used for crisp packets, rice packets, etc. And so those are recycle at specialist points.
It's like the worst number to pull on your plastic consumption. Okay. A number 7 is, you alluded to this comment earlier in the conversation, and even now sharing these numbers. It all comes down to, like, in the area you live, do they have a plant recycle, like a plastic processing plant set up to recycle those numbers if they're sorted correctly, right? Number 7 plants are few and far between because they're harder, or what it's made with is not breakdownable, which is a fun word.
Okay.
And I have a link, I feel like our show notes for this episode will be heavy in links because there's a lot to learn, a lot to go through, and maybe we'll help peel back the layers of recycling a little bit on why it's so hard. But this is awesome. Great question, Stephen.
Yeah. I mean, it just seemed perfect for our topic. So, and now I know, now I have this knowledge, because I think I'm pretty sure we'll go into this in detail, but like my trash can outside, it's like trash and then recycling. We don't sort by number, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if the guys picking up the trash sort by numbers. So
no, and we'll get into it. We'll get into more detail throughout this episode, but no, and that's kind of why I chose this topic, because, I have my own personal recycle bin, but I just want to make sure I'm putting the right things in it, that I'm not contaminating other products once it gets to the, recycling warehouse. I'm not breaking their machines because that type of plastic shouldn't have been thrown in there, different things like that. So we'll definitely provide some more insight throughout this episode.
Okay.
But we'll kick it off. So awesome.
We need more fanfare than that. We need more fanfare. Recycling is amazing. Let's learn more today with Shane.
There we go. I was trying to find like an old vintage, how like those old like vintage educational videos are like really funny. I was trying to find one, but I couldn't. But what I did find was a hilarious clip of Lewis Black talking about recycling. So we'll play a little bit of that, and we'll get things kicked off.
And for those Crbnly moms out there, we've done our best to edit his swearing, because if you know Lewis Black, the F word is no stranger to Lewis Black.
So I'm pretty sure I got all of them edited. So yeah, let's take a listen, and then we'll really kick things off here.
Like many other Americans, my family and I are doing our best to minimize our carbon footprint. We installed solar panels, brought electric cars. Yes, we're those annoying people who bring our own metal straws to Starbucks.
I don't do that yet.
It's little stuff, but it feels good to do our part for the planet. But then, Lewis, my world is totally rocked every month when I make a run to CVS for my family's toiletry. You know, CVS, the drugstores. Yes, we have them in New York. Everything's fine until I check out. As I'm sliding my credit card through the machine, my blood pressure starts to rise, and dread overtakes me, because every single time, whether I brought 1 item or 20, the cashier hands me a 54-inch receipt. It's like
Crbnly Conversation.
Like many other Americans, whether I brought 1 item or 20.
Here, we'll have to cut. I'm gonna have to restart it, because I was thinking I could hit 2. I was trying to do the Crbnly Conversations over him speaking, so I'll restart his audio, and then you'll just have to cut that part out, Chad. All right.
Like many other Americans, my family and I are doing our best to minimize our carbon footprint. We installed solar panels, brought electric cars. Yes, we're those annoying people who bring our own metal straws to Starbucks.
I'm going to start doing that.
It's little stuff, but it feels good to do our part for the planet. But then, Lewis, my world is totally rocked every month when I make a run to CVS for my family's toiletry. You know, CVS, the drugstores. Yes, we have them in New York. Everything's fine until I check out. As I'm sliding my credit card through the machine, my blood pressure starts to rise, and dread overtakes me, because every single time, whether I brought 1 item or 20, the cashier hands me a 54-inch receipt. It's like my entire month of conservation is undone by that one purchase.
It's a bad feeling.
So this month I finally decided I'd had enough. This time I went to CVS with a strategy. Before the cashier could print the receipt, I said triumphantly, "Nope, I don't need a receipt." And you know what happened? The cashier printed it, and they threw it in their trash can. Not in a recycling bin, but the trash. I was so mad I made her fish it out and give it to me. I walked to my car dragging this long streamer of environmental waste. I tossed it into the passenger seat, fully aware that I was polluting my new beautiful Tesla with this toxic symbol of corporate madness. I drove home and threw it in my blue recycling bin, steaming the whole time. And when I thought this can't get any worse, of course it got worse. The know-it-all neighbor saw me throw the receipt in the blue bin and came over and said, "You know, BPA-coated receipts should never be recycled." Because they contaminate the rest of the paper.
Oh, man. We feel your pain, Lewis Black. We feel your pain.
Yeah, I mean, I would dare say the spirit of Crbnly, like what's kept us going on this project to get to, the #1 ranking in the world, is that frustration that he so aptly described. Like all those things you can do, and then yet you get thwarted by something, or you move in the plus and just to get knocked backwards. What a great topic.
Yeah, it's just it's a terrible feeling, and it's kind of similar to what inspired me to want to talk about this. So like, as you guys know, I work part-time at a market now. And I try to, there's so many products, and then employees are drinking sodas and waters and different things like that, but we don't have like a recycling can like in the back room where we keep the trash. So I've been trying to sort things out. And then the main thing was, we have a lot of products that get sent to us in cardboard boxes. Some are just the basic brown boxes. Some are these elaborate designs printed on them and things like that. So, one night I'm breaking down boxes and I'm just like, am I, I wanted to make sure, like, am I even supposed to put all of these boxes, in the recycling bin? Like, I wanted to make sure I wasn't like he said, contaminating any of the other boxes. So I had to like spend a few minutes doing a Google search and like, researching like what all cardboard boxes are recyclable, which fortunately for a majority of them, they are. You just really want to steer clear of any that have like sparkly designs, any extra other than paper, any extra elements that have been added to them. But this clip just really fit perfect. So I wanted to share it.
Highlighted here.
So when you say anything extra, because like sometimes I'll get packages. All right, so like one time Taylor Swift dropped an album, and so like every like Amazon package that came in a box had, I think they just printed, it wasn't sparkly, but it just had like her album cover, like I don't know, like inked onto it, like printed onto it. Would that be what you were talking about? Like would that make it unrecyclable?
From my understanding, no. Because one of the main boxes, that the reason why I looked it up was, we sell Rap Snacks, which those of it's a black owned yep. product. I believe Master P is like part owner of it. They make chips. Familiar. So we sell a lot of their chips. In the box, in typical, our type of fashion of being flashy, the box is just like, has all this print. It's got faces printed on it. It's got Rick Ross on it. It's got Little Boozy or somebody else, Snoop Dogg. So I'm like, man, like all of this added stuff, like, is this recyclable? And from my understanding, it was. You do want to try and take off the labels. Like, so if it has like an Amazon shipping label, you do want to take those off, and then try to take off as much tape as you can, because those can mess up the recycling process, especially when it comes to being ran through the machines. The tape and things like that can cause some issues.
Oh no!
Yeah,
gunks it up, right? Kind of like gums up the process.
Damn it.
Literally.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
literally.
So what I've been doing, I'm admitted this on the podcast.
Remember, Stephen?
It's a safe space, brother.
Okay, thank you. My name is Stephen Davis, and I don't always recycle properly, apparently.
There we go.
So I take all the cardboard and I like break it down, flatten it out, and I stack them. And then I take a bunch of duct tape and I like tape it all together so it's one package. I think I'm the cashier from CVS. Oh my God.
Like I haven't. I'll admit I've done the duct tape when it's like a massive pile of boxes, because like someone has to handle that into the truck or whatever, right? We've also, like, many times I'll do twine, right?
Yeah,
that's biodegradable.
Okay, so twine is okay. That's what I was gonna say.
I don't know. That's my point. Is like, is twine worse or better? Like, you don't have to peel it off. Someone can just cut it, but someone has to do something extra. And when that gets to the plant, is anyone doing that extra thing? That's the question that I think I'm having in the realization of, I always presumed the tape was probably not good, but like they would tell us to remove it if we're supposed to. You know, they don't.
Yep, exactly. But no, that's good. And you know, hopefully, you know, listeners out there, like, let us know what practices you might share. And, you know, and we're not experts at this. We're learning together. So if any tips that you have for us, like, let us know, you know what I mean? Because
so
we're
I just looked
boxes.
it up.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be my new Crbnly moment for next week, I guess, is buying biodegradable twine. There's garden twine that's like made from like hemp and I got you, Chad. Yeah, it's made from hemp and other like plant material, and you're not like, it's not an extra step because like whatever you use the garden twine for, you can it'll work for like whatever you use regular twine for, or so it's just replacing whatever twine.
That's awesome.
So
that's really
what
awesome.
I'll use now.
That's good to know, because some of these boxes are hard to break down and get them to stay together. So, and especially you guys living in New York, I'm sure you have to, like, there's less space for you to do it. So,
like it all gets thrown on the street. So, getting it manageable. I'm convinced no one does anything after it gets picked up and dumped, because it's part of like a giant pile.
Yep.
Back to the thrifting conversation we had, like the pile of donations at the back of the Goodwill, like it's a mountain heap of things. Like someone has to sort it. And I know you have a couple more topics on that, but I think into this vein of why it's so hard to recycle and the whole plastic labeling, like we don't know. Like, when's the last time you saw a public information campaign, you know, about how to recycle, the basics of recycling? Like, I'm just in awe of how far down the rabbit hole we could just go with cardboard. Right? And what were we laughing about a week ago or a couple episodes ago about like dirt or gravel? Like, our podcast is be cooler than gravel, right? And we're like, well, actually, gravel's probably the most carbonly resource on the planet. I would argue cardboard is probably number 2 or 3 on that list, after aluminum, which is another recyclable easily, and everyone understands it because there was an intrinsic value to the cans of 3 cents, 5 cents, or 50 cents per pound when you recycle them. Anyway,
exactly.
That's where I'm going, and my thoughts are going in this conversation so much. Hopefully
and I mean, you know, like, even though we know like recycling is like this very, very important thing to do, unfortunately, many people just don't know how to properly recycle, so that they get discouraged of not knowing where to start. So they just kind of give up on it. And, you know, because consumers don't fully understand, they end up recycling items like plastic straws, takeout containers, things like that aren't recyclable, which can really mess up the process at the recycle plant. You know what I mean? And it just kind of, one bad apple can ruin the whole batch, so to speak. Yep. You know what I mean?
I got a question on this topic for the group, which I think will be a fun question for our listeners. Maybe they could even answer in here. Maybe it's just me, but have you ever looked into a recycling bin before you've tossed the things you were going to recycle and you saw wrong stuff in there? And have you reached in and pulled them out and sorted them correctly?
That's a great question.
Where's the line? Do you cross that line? Do you don't?
That's a great question.
Man, I definitely don't.
Me neither.
I'm just gonna be honest. I can't touch trash. I just can't.
And I didn't find it in my research, but I would imagine COVID maybe put another decrease in actions like that, because people don't want to pick up random things anymore. You know, people are very, very more focused on different germs and the spread of germs. So like, I could imagine COVID had a large impact on people actually doing this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in your point, Stephen, I don't like touching it either, but if it's easy to grab or it's not a big mess pile, but here's my dilemma. I'm certain there's more things through the whole bag that are wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, do I grab just those to make myself feel better? Like it's already screwed up anyways.
Yeah.
Um,
It'd be a full-time job trying to go through.
Definitely. But I know I have friends, they religiously, I think it's a religion, do that. Like he's got a great story of like, if someone flicks something out of their car window and they're at a red stoplight, he'll get out of his car, pick it up, knock on the window and say, you dropped something.
Damn.
And hand it back to him. But that's like into it that hard. I'm gonna look through my photo roll because when we were visiting family up in upstate New York, we were at a coffee shop, and you could tell they had like, you know, usually the cafes you'd have like the garbage station, the bust your dishes station, and you had the two holes. You know, usually in those it's one's for recycling and one for trash, and it had a sign, and my memory says the sign said something like this. We used to recycle here, but because all of you or everyone can't get that straight and just commingle and ruin it, we've stopped. You know, and they probably like had hashtag humans suck or hashtag like, you know, it's not work, like we can't fix this or something. And again, I'm gonna go on a limb of a lot of Gen Z or like if the future, like we talked about this in our Positively Carbonly episode of like thinking positive about the future, but if you just fed all this information and news about the polar bears are drowning, the Arctic is melting, you know, all the Amazon's on fire, like if you're working a minimum wage job and you know most of the customers are just going to use it as trash anyways, I mean, where was that relationship to that sign and that feeling there?
Yeah.
It's powerful. Yep. I'll find that picture.
Definitely find that picture. That'd be a great picture to share.
Damn.
And from the articles that I've read, so in one of the EPA articles, basically they said research has found that 94% of Americans support recycling, 74% say it should be a top priority, but only about 35% of Americans actually recycle. And there's, other than the not knowing how to properly recycle, the other factor that plays part in that is many Americans don't have the means of recycling, and sometimes where you live can hinder your option of even doing that. You know, so like for example, my mom lives in an apartment complex. She's a 70-year-old woman. The apartment complex has dumpsters everywhere, which get filled with junk. Sure. You know, half the time, by the time, you know, the waste company is able to pick them up, they're filled to the brim. There's garbage on the side, which a lot of those items, I'm sure, are recyclable items. But being that they don't even have the option to do that, people are just throwing these items away. Mm-hmm. And my mom does her best to try and recycle. But like I said, she's a 70-year-old woman. She has to drive, I don't know, it's probably about a 20-minute drive for her to take them to a recycling, like just a local recycling bin. So, I mean, that's a lot of work of her lugging things from her apartment to the car. So I try my best to, whenever I visit, maybe take whatever items she has and bring them home with me and put them in my own recycling bin. But I mean, I think that's like the main issue. I think that, you know, if people had the opportunity or the option to do it, they would do like we're doing, is like educating ourselves on how to properly do it. And it feels good to be able to do it. But yeah, from the research, it's like a lot of places don't. And depending on what state you live in, some items, they don't recycle at all, you know?
or can't, or it's
or
too
can't, you know.
expensive because you got to ship it somewhere and the county or the municipality can't afford it or dedicates their resources in other places.
I do wonder, just like a quick point, because like I just realized that. So I after we had the talk about the duct tape and the garden twine, I realized I already have that garden twine in my house because I have tomatoes. I haven't grown them this year, but like normally I do. And, like when they get to a certain height, I use that string to make sure they grow up straight and they can support themselves.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think I just bought it honestly because it was the color green, not because it was like eco green. I just was worried about the aesthetic, but I think that is a good way to like if more people garden, then more people would have the twine in their house. Then more people would be using that. It's, you know what I mean? Like certain actions lead to other actions. And
better living through design.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect phrase. So it's I wonder if there's a way to like make this scalable, like to take this notion of like maybe don't make these choices because they're because it's about recycling, because like maybe if we can figure out a way to have people make these choices because of some other reason, like is it New York, or I can't remember if it's like a federal, I think it's just New York, but they just passed a law where it's like a lot of the big supermarket chains, they don't have plastic bags anymore. And if you want a bag, they'll charge you for it every time, but they give you a reusable bag. And like I've noticed this passed sometime last year, or it passed like
the city close is to that way.
And close to like COVID times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I've already noticed that like people are walking around with these bags, and I like to see it, but I just know for a fact that it wouldn't have happened as like widespread as it did if it wasn't like a mandatory thing. If every time you forgot this bag, you're being charged like 10 cents or 15 cents, like there's other ways to like get people to take these actions to where it's like to get them to realize that it's for their benefit.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And I'd be curious to, have some of the listeners share like what are some of their best practices on doing it. Cause like for me, I do a lot of shopping at Trader Joe's, and even though I have the reusable shopping bags, I'll usually have them also give me, they use those paper bags. So I'll usually have them pack one of my bags in that so that I can take them home. And what I do is I'll set one of those next to my garbage can, and throughout the week, I'll put my recyclables in that.
Yep.
And then just go ahead and put the whole thing in the
better
recycle
living
bin,
by design, like dedicated space to do your recycling in. As a reminder, right? Like you see that paper bag, it's super easy. Like we live in a tiny apartment, but we have two bins, one for the cardboard paper, one for the plastic metal, we're commingling, recyclables. So we dedicate maybe like 0.5% of our square footage to recycling, which when you don't have a lot of square footage, like that matters. But I really loved how like those things, you're wrapping that up, Stephen and Shane, in the sense of like, intentions matter. So like it's hard to recycle, but if we create ways to make it easy to do, we can start to sort out some of the complications of it.
I wonder about that statement. Is it, when I think about it, is it really hard to recycle? Because I feel like it's more like it's something outside of the norm. like it's not weaved into our everyday life, because mainstream society, it's not like if you're recycling, it's very much like a niche thing. It's not like as widespread as like the need for education or the need to make money, like it's like a I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say, but like if it were better, like going back to our futuristic talk, what if every time, like, what if recycling was just standard, so much so that like when you rented an apartment or bought a house, it's already embedded. Like, here's a section to where you put your recyclables. Here's your, like there's already like a neighborhood that has like a recycling plant, and like, you know what I mean? Like there's already like some sort of service. Like it was just baked into everyday society.
Or the more people that demand that. So like, let's say the apartment complexes that don't have the option of recycling, if less people start leasing and renting from them, and that's they're vocal of like, that's one of the reasons why, and they rather go maybe spend an extra few dollars to lease from a place that is, big on recycling and does have the recycle bins, maybe that will also start changing, the mindset of like these larger companies, like, hey, we're losing tenants because they want to recycle and we don't give them the option because we're not paying for that service.
And then every new building that's made, they have that, like if it was some sort of like mandatory thing where it's like, this is part of building regulations now, you have to have some sort of compost area, some sort of recycling area, with like clear signage to make sure people are doing the right thing. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because it's all about letting our voices be heard, and it's voting time now. So, I mean, if you put this thought into the things that we put thought into on a daily basis, we also have the power to make these decisions through our voting decisions, to make sure that whoever we're supporting, whatever issues we're supporting, are in line with, our Crbnly goals, so to speak, is another way to just have your voice be heard. It is unfortunate that some people don't have the option, but, let's try to be creative. And, if you have any questions on how to, if our episode is making you doubt how you've been recycling, or you just want to freshen up or become more knowledgeable, we definitely recommend going to the EPA website. They have a complete link about recycling basics. That's the website that I've been looking at this week, to kind of sharpen my skills on recycling. So if anything, I would definitely lead you all to that website, to educate yourself and just make sure that we're all doing this properly, so that we can make sure the process flows even better and we're able to reduce and reuse as many materials as possible.
Yeah. And much like my cardboard boxes, I think it's time to wrap it up.
That was a good one.
I want to see episode by episode just how corny I could get with these like transitions.
Well, too bad we don't have a way to measure. Is that what the fans are flocking for? If you're number one, we got to keep up the corniness.
Yeah, if you love Steven's corny transitions, leave a comment. And again, we want to make sure people are, able to reach us. So like I said, we're on YouTube, Crbnly Conversations. Subscribe, like, comment. We're on Instagram as kind of our main social media platform right now, where we're trying to pick it up. We're trying to get more creative with the content and leave everyone little nuggets of Crbnly knowledge. But we're trying to build a community, and we need everyone's help doing that. So, definitely like, share, comment, share this with as many friends and family members, if you're enjoy listening to us. But we appreciate you all taking another 45 minutes or so out of your day to listen to us. We drop every Wednesday morning. So whenever you wake up, by the time you brush your teeth and wash your face, guess what? Got another Crbnly Conversations episode to listen to. So
that's right.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, fellas, for your time.
This was fun.
To all of the Crbnly community. We will see you again next week.
Indeed.
Peace.